All right, what is going on, everybody? Today we have some special hoops to talk about. We have what could be a finals preview that happened last night. The Oklahoma City Thunder versus the Boston Celtics. The Oklahoma City Thunder got the victory in pretty convincing fashion. Final score 118 to the Boston Celtics 112. There were a lot of moving parts in this game. There were a lot of interesting moments. So I just want to talk about it. We're going to focus on this one game today. If you like what I have to say, like the video. If you have your own opinions, comment them down below. And if you just like the vibes, consider subscribing. And yeah, I really like this game. It didn't feel like a finals game to me personally, but the energy was so high. I think because these teams have only played twice, and both teams have had players injured or out. It didn't have that finals vibe to me. But I I liked the energy both teams brought. I liked the different looks both teams had going. And I, I think I think both these teams are just so good in such different ways, um, that it's great for people watching to get to see contrasting ways of playing basketball. We can dive into the stats first for the Oklahoma City Thunder, the winners of last night. Um, their MVP, the league's MVP, or soon to be MVP, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, with a superb night, um, a very normal night for him. Some people, this would be their best game ever of their career, but for Shea, it's just business. It's just normal, everyday stuff for him. Um, they threw a lot of different things at him. They threw a lot of doubles. They made him see a ton of bodies. They ran some zone at times as well, which you don't see a lot in the NBA. You see it very sparingly against players like Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. Um, his percentages weren't the best, but he made the best of it. 34 points, 7 assists, 5 rebounds, one steal. He did have 5 turnovers. He was 11 for 22 from field goal. He was 2 of 7 from three. He did all this without Jalen Williams and Alex Caruso. Alex Caruso is out with an illness. He's one of their best defenders. That's what I was trying to say. Damn, I had a brain fart. um, and Jalen Williams was out. The other All Star was out for them. Um, he was just out. He was a hip. It was a hip issue he was out with. So Shea was doing this, um, which you would think was all by himself, but the Thunder always have these weapons that they just pull out of nowhere. And that weapon last night was Chet Holmgren. He had 23 points, 15 boards, 2 assists, 1 block, 3 of 6 from three, stretching the floor for them, which is much needed, especially against a team like the Boston Celtics, who is going to try to kill you with threes. You're going to need to clap back with um, an equal amount of threes, or not even an equal amount, just enough to sustain your appetite to keep up with them or keep a lead. He was 8 of 14 overall from field goal, 11 defensive boards, 4 offensive boards. Um, Chet really, I have my questions about Chet. Even coming from the draft, when he was coming out of Gonzaga, I have my questions about him because he is a bit. If you just look at any picture of him, you see he's literally just skin and bones, right? Um, but he has a lot of finesse around the boards. He has a lot of energy as well. He has a lot of um, presence around the basket. That's what I'm trying to get at. Yeah, he has a lot of presence. For his size, he is 7'1", I believe. If I click on his name here, it should tell me. Um, he's a tall guy, so there's no reason he shouldn't be getting boards like that. Yeah, he's 7'1", 200, almost a little over 200 pounds. So we should be getting 15 boards, um, pretty easily. But I have my questions about him, and every time I've had questions about him, he always shows up, and I can appreciate that from a player. I might not be your biggest fan, but if if one of your guys is missing on your team, one of your teammates is missing, and they ask you to step up and you step up like this is such a positive step in the right direction for a guy like Chet who has missed a lot of time this year and has missed a lot of time in his career so far. Um, I can't imagine what he would be like if he had played all that time and played um, any amount of games that was more than like 50 to 60 games. He would have so much more experience and so much more confidence, I think. But he really showed out, and he was at times this is an oxymoron. He felt like the biggest guy out there because he was, but sometimes guys that big don't play their size. And I'll give Chet a lot of credit for for beating up on 40 something year old Al Horford on the Celtics side of things, and Luke Cornett, who came off the bench for the Celtics, who was equal to Chet's size, but definitely nowhere near the scale of Chet. So I'll give Chet a lot of credit for going at those two guys and really seizing the opportunity when Shea saw those doubles. Other guys that seized that opportunity, Lou Dort, who isn't known as a scorer, got 13 points last night, 3 of 8 from three. The regular field goal didn't look great, but that's not the point. um, Kason Wallace inserted into the starting lineup in Jalen Williams' place. 14 points, 2 steals, 1 block, 3 assists, 4 rebounds. Took 1 3, made it, and only missed 1 shot of his field goal attempts, 5 of 6. Um, they decided to bring Isaiah Hartenstein off the bench. The Oklahoma City Thunder did. Um, he ended up with 11 points, 6 rebounds in 25 minutes. Isaiah Joe with 11, uh, Kenrich Williams with 10, and Usman Dang with 2. A pretty solid night, all things considered. And the Boston Celtics threw everything at this Oklahoma City Thunder team. Everything defensively, everything offensively. They took the most amount of threes in a half for an NBA team ever, just like in NBA history. I don't have the stat in front of me, but it was like a crazy number. They took a huge amount of threes. And I'm going to take this opportunity to talk positively about the Celtics. I know it's a loss for them, but I am going to talk a little bit negatively about them because we are getting to that time where we're getting to playoff seeding. We're getting to playoff um, level basketball. A lot of teams take this last month as seriously as they would if it was playoff basketball in general. So I think it's super, super important to be quite honest about these teams and be quite um, just unfiltered about them because these things need to be said because these are things that could pop up in the playoffs. Um, for the Celtics, um, Jason Tatum, 33 points. Didn't feel like he had 33. I'm going to be completely honest. Did not feel like he had 33. He had 18 assists, 8 rebounds, 4 of 13 from 3, 12 of 23 overall from field goal. He played 41 minutes. He had 4 turnovers. Let me just get through all these numbers and then we'll circle back to certain players. Um, Al Horford, 18 points, 10 rebounds. He gave it his best at 40 something going against these young guys in Oklahoma. It is it was interesting to watch. Very interesting to watch Al Horford try to go out there and try to compete with this young, very, very young Thunder team when he's 40 something years old. He did play 34 minutes though, 6 of 12 from three, 6 of 14 from regular field goal. Damn, he took a lot of damn wow. Oh wow, okay. He took a hefty amount of threes and didn't take anything else really. Okay. Drew Holiday, 9 points. Derek White, 22. Derek White's been on a heater recently. Derek White, he fouled out with 6 personal fouls, 3 turnovers, 2 steals, 5 assists, 8 rebounds. Jaylen Brown also fouled out, 10 points, 2 assists, 2 steals, 5 rebounds. Didn't make a three. That's your Finals MVP, everybody, from last year. That's your Finals MVP, Jaylen Brown, showing up in a big game with 10 points. Um, and they didn't really get any help off the bench from anybody else. Peyton Pritchard had 8. Uh, made an interesting made a very crucial three down the stretch, but it didn't end up mattering because the Oklahoma City Thunder just came down and made whatever they wanted to make towards the end of the game. Luke Cornett with 9, 4 rebounds. Again, for Luke Cornett, the numbers don't really show how many rebounds he has. He alters a lot of rebounds. He gets a lot of tips. He tips the ball out a lot to the 3 point line for the other guys. 4 rebounds really doesn't show you how good Luke Cornett is sometimes, but regardless. Um, let's talk about this Celtics team in general, going up against this Oklahoma City Thunder team in a playoff, in a final scenario, which is the only time they would see each other again because Oklahoma did sweep the season series against them. They won this game, and then on what day is this? On January 5th, they won against the Celtics 105-92. So they've swept the season series. Um, let's talk about Jason Tatum and what the Celtics tried to do. The Celtics this season have been notorious for shooting a hell of a lot of threes. Like I said, they had the most amount of threes taken in a half in NBA history last night, and they've been setting records like that all year. Most amount of threes in this, most amount of threes in that, most this and that. Um, as somebody who watched the 3 point revolution in the sense of um, the Warriors doing it, the Rockets trying to do it, all these different teams trying to do it. You live by the three, you die by the three, is the old saying. And I think what the Celtics have sort of gotten away from is what makes them great. And I get they didn't have the Celtics didn't have Kristaps Porzingis. We'll talk about what he's dealing with in a second here, but um, you can't you can't just bank on making all your threes. Even the best 3 point shooting teams never banked on shooting threes. And when I'm talking about the best 3 point shooting teams, I'm talking about those Warriors teams with Kevin Durant, um, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson in his prime. Um, if you look at those teams, that team, they took a lot of threes, but they got it in the mid range too. Even Steph Curry was taking mid range shots. Um, if I go look at the shot chart here, if I can find it here, yeah, okay. I'm looking at the shot chart now. I'm looking at both these teams, right, and they both look the shot chart looks very similar. Um, but if I'm looking at this correctly, the mid range, the quote unquote mid range shots that the Celtics took, they took 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. They took around 20 something mid range to close to the basket shots. And they didn't miss a lot of them, but the ones they did make were a bit closer to the basket and not so much in the mid-range area, more in the paint, more trying probably to get the ball in the bucket and draw the foul. And this Oklahoma City Thunder team, I'm looking at their side of the shot chart, and there's a lot of shots in the paint. There's a couple right here, by the elbow, near the paint. Um, this is like Shea, Chet, um, taking these elbow jumpers that have gone in. Um, I think what the Celtics need to do and what Jason Tatum needs to do um, is take slightly more mid range shots. Like when the when the 3-point shot isn't going in, you just gotta rely on what you know, and it's hard to do that sometimes in these scenarios. And I'm looking at Jason Tatum's um, shot profile right now. I'm looking at his shot chart again. He took a lot of threes, man, and a lot of these are misses, and some of these are nearing 25 plus feet away from the bucket. He does have some 17 footers here, 11 footers, 18 footers away from the basket, and then they get really close. Obviously, Jason Tatum's a great finisher, um, but I think because let me say this: when you win a championship playing a certain style of basketball and you dominate a team because they absolutely dominated the Mavericks to win that championship last year. Um, you think this is the best way to play? You think, oh, this is how we're going to win every championship going forward. What the greatest teams do and what the greatest players do and what the greatest champions do is they reinvent themselves a little bit because they know going into that next season, um, things are going to be taken away. Teams are going to dare you to take X shot or do X. And I think Jason Tatum had a beautiful mid range game when he first came in the league. He really did. And he still does. He shows it bits and flashes here and there. But I think he's just gone away from it too much. And I'm being a bit hyperbolic about this loss and about Jason Tatum. But again, I think it's important to say these things because these things can pop up in the playoffs. Um, just to look at the other side of things for Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, um, basically the 1A on the Oklahoma City Thunder, where the Boston Celtics have a 1A in Jason Tatum. Um, you look at his shot chart. He didn't take a lot of shots where he already had missed the shot. So there are a couple here on the close side of the floor. He only made one. He missed a 25 footer from three. It's a step back. He missed a couple gimmies by the basket. He took a mid range shot, a 16 footer, and they just weren't going in. So you know what he did? He operated on the other side of the floor. And you look at the other side of the floor here, he has about 4 elbow jumpers that went in. He has 1 3 that went in from over there. He has a couple threes taken from the same spot where he made the 29 footer. Um, but his shot diet is consistent with somebody that knows, hey, I'm not gonna get it on this side of the floor. They're doubling me on this side. Oh, they can bring the help from this side, this and that. It's the mentality of a great scorer, and I give Shea a lot of credit, even though some people don't want to give him credit because the way he draws the fouls and the free throws he gets. Um, but I think this is a great way to operate, and I think what I'm trying to get at is the Oklahoma City Thunder play the way Shea Gilgeous-Alexander wants to play. The Boston Celtics are just playing a style of basketball. You know what I mean? So the style of basketball is just take as many threes as you want, and then get whatever comfortable shot you need to take. And if it starts going in, then do everything. You know what I mean? Take the mid range, take the three, and you're gonna have 40 that night. And Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Peyton Pritchard, um, Derek White have all had 40-point games this year, if I'm not mistaken. 40-point games this year, if I'm not mistaken. And they're just playing a style of basketball. They're not playing around or with their star. You know what I mean? That's what I'm trying to get at here. Um, and we can talk about um, Chet and like Jaylen Brown, the number twos to those number ones that we just talked about. Jaylen Brown just didn't show up. He took. I'm looking at a shot chart right now. He took a bunch of threes from the close side of the floor, um, closest to the camera. When I say close side, I mean it's close to the camera. He took a lot. There was a 26 footer, a 25, 27, 24, 26. Missed all of them. Missed all of them. Didn't even. There are 3 mid-range jumpers here: 14 footer, 18 footer, 15 footer. He made one of them, and then he got to the basket and made a bunch by the basket, but it wasn't enough. He had 10 points. On the other side, now granted, Chet is a big man. He's a 7 footer. Jaylen Brown, a tweener. He's a guard slash wing, different positions, but the same responsibility. You have to be the number two to your number one. And Chet did it great. He didn't take shots that he didn't need to take. He missed a couple threes. He made a couple. He split them. And when he wasn't doing that, took an 18-footer. He got to the basket. He got a couple of free dunks. He's missed a couple here, but it's important to stay within your role and do and not take the shots that aren't going in. Just mentally check that and say, hey, this isn't going in. I need to go to something else. Especially when we lost by, was it 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 6 points. Those little things matter. It would have been a closer game. You could have had a chance to win this game. You just didn't choose to. And I really think that's it. And for Oklahoma, this is a very big win because they did it without the number two. They did it without one of the best defenders. And for the Boston Celtics, I think this is a chance to look in the mirror and say, hey, we might be the best in the East. We might run through the East. They could very well just run through the East and dominate everybody. Once it comes to that final dance, once it comes down to that, you better hope somebody else takes out Oklahoma. Because if you have to face Oklahoma in a 7-game series, ooh, and you're not healthy, um, we can touch on this now because Kristaps Porzingis is dealing with a quote unquote mysterious illness. Um, their words, not mine. Kristaps Porzingis, the Boston Celtics starting center, is dealing with a mysterious illness and he doesn't know what it is and nobody knows what it is kind of concerning, especially for a guy whose body hasn't held up over time. He got a break last year. He was fairly healthy. They managed him a little bit, his playing time, his games played, and he was a big part of that championship run last year. And I think he's going to be an even bigger part this year, especially if you do have to go against Oklahoma in the finals. Because Al Horford, Luke Cornett ain't cutting it. They're not cutting it against this Thunder team. It's not cutting it. It's not cutting it. It's not. Those centers against the Oklahoma City Thunder centers aren't cutting it. I'm gonna say that right now. They ain't cutting it. So they need a Kristaps Porzingis. And just very quickly here, we can talk about this game that they played on January 5th. That Oklahoma City still won, but Kristaps Porzingis did play this game, and he had 19 points, 9 rebounds, 1 steal. Didn't shoot the three ball well, split his overall field goal, but he was important to this team. He was important to this game because then everybody else played better. Jaylen Brown had 21. Derek White had 11. You know, Jason Tatum didn't have to go crazy at 26. They lost this game, but these are things to keep in mind that 26 means you make a couple more threes, you get to 33. An easy 33, not a tough 33 like Jason had last night. Jaylen Brown goes up from 10 points to 21. That's so much better. That's such a weight off of him, you know? So these are things to just keep in mind. I hope this is the finals. The playoff picture is coming into view, and I think I will talk about that later this week. Um, but yeah, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. I hope you guys watch the game. If you haven't watched the game, go watch the highlights. I'm pretty sure they're available on the NBA YouTube channel or wherever you get your NBA content. And I will see you guys next time. Cheers.